My dad slept with my sister. My sister and I have different dads. When she turned 18, my dad and her slept together. Ongoing for many YRS off and on. This is a King SHD show. My sister and I are 10 years apart. I'll try and say all of this in order. My mom and dad grew up together. Before they got together, my mom was with another man. We would call him Rich. My mother had 2 kids with him, my sister and my oldest brother. Rich was a terrible human being and burned my brother's hand on the stove top and threw him up against a wall as an infant. Luckily, my brother is alive today. How Rich didn't get jail time, but my mom had my older siblings taken away from her. She left Rich and got custody back. Moving the story along, my mom eventually got with my dad and had me and my brother. 2 girls, 2 boys. When I was 8, my dad and sister slept together. My mom first noticed that my sister had a hickey on her neck, and from there she happened to notice things and even catch things. But I'm not telling this story from my mom's POV. Growing up, me and my brother were close, and we used to play around the house. One day when my mom went to work, we eventually noticed my sister missing. We looked around the house and eventually went to ask my dad where she was. Walking in the room, my dad raged and screamed at us to get out. We was so scared we ran. My sister was under the covers giving him a BJ. My brother ended up telling my mom, and my dad denied everything and hooped my brother. Took a break, and then hooped him again. That night my parents argued. I can't put everything in this post because it would go on long, but to give you an idea of how things were growing up. We were scared of my dad growing up. Many times we caught things. Many times my dad would tell us not to say anything because we would destroy the family. Many times our mother questioned us. Many times we would get verbally or physically abused for telling the truth. Many times my mom left and went back to him. It was horrible and traumatic, and even through all of that, my brother and I loved our dad because he's dad. My aunts and uncles knew what was going on, and that just added fuel to the fire. They used to sit me down and make me cry by telling me how my dad is no good. My family would even be mean to me because of how I looked like him, and I suffered some physical abuse there too. Anyways, moving along. My mom always went back to my dad, and we didn't help the situation since we would tell her we missed him. When I was growing up, I really wanted my dad's attention. Somehow I was a daddy's girl, but because my sister and him were having an affair, he always put her before me. Sometimes he would say, "We're gonna have a daddy and daughter day," and it was just an excuse to hang out with my sister. He'll buy me ice cream but won't talk to me, just her. For obvious reasons, my sister and I hated each other. One incident, my dad took me and my brother and my sister to a hotel room. My parents were arguing over the situation, and it ended up a high-speed chase. My dad grabbing us and trying to get away from my mom because she was trying to fight them. In that hotel room, my dad and sister had sex in front of us. We were sitting by the window, very uncomfortable, and they were under the covers trying to not make it noticeable, but we're not kingdom. Another time I caught them, I was about 16 to 17 years old. My dad confronted me about what I saw, and I told him exactly what I saw, and it ended with him screaming in my face, threatening to slap the SHD out of me if I said that lie again. He called me a sneaky ass bitch and walked away. Fast forward to about 2018, and apparently everything has ceased, and my dad built a house for my mom, etc. Long story short, same SHD, different day. Now currently 28 years old, and about 2 weeks ago my mom texted me and told me that my nephew/brother, not kidding, they had a baby together, caught them. He then told my mom. My sister denied everything, and my dad came clean. I picked up my nephew and brought him to my house. This is all a jumbled mess, and I'm sorry. My brain is just going like crazy with all the memories, and this is my attempt to vent for the first time. There are a lot I left out and a lot I want to say, but I'll have to do it another time. If you have any questions about anything LMK, and I'll answer what I can and give an update on details. If you read this far, thanks for listening, I guess. All this SHD is true BTW. I do want to add that my mom didn't know about the abuse going on. We didn't talk about it. My mom was no saint and definitely could have done better in that time, but my mom had nothing and would have lost us if she left. There have been times where she sat us down and told us they were separating and that we can choose who to go with. We picked dad, only because leaving with my mom meant living with my aunts, who was also verbally abusive, and really mean woman. With Dad, if we just minded our business, we would be okay. My mom cried intensively and multiple times had a panic attack and was taken to the hospital. She stayed for us. Now to the update. Update: my dad slept with my sister. I wanted to make another update to talk about my mom and siblings. My mom loved us and did her best, even though her best wasn't good enough. My mom wasn't really able to do for herself. She lived off of Section 8 in a roach-infested apartment. My mom was a giving person and would always give to her family even though she needed. When my dad came into the picture, he stopped PPL from taking from her, moved her into a better living situation, and taught her how to drive. When my mom worked, my dad was the one to fill out the applications for her. To sum it up, my dad did everything for my mom, and eventually she stopped working to be the typical housewife. When it comes to the situation with my dad and sister, the arguments would go so bad that my dad would break things and hit my mom. My mom definitely had a victim mentality of there's no way out of the situation, and even those moments when she left, she went back. When it comes to my sister, my mom was always giving and forgiving. She was a sucker for tears, and her excuse was, "That's my daughter, and I have to be there for her." My mom told me when my sister was young, 2 of my uncles molested her, so she feels that she had to protect my sister because of what happened when she was younger, and that it screwed her mind up. On to my sister. Growing up with her, she was always seeking attention. So much so that church PPL said she had a Jezebel demon. I always hated my sister. I felt growing up like she took my dad away. She would mock me when my dad did for her, and not me. She would force me to take a bath with her and suck on her breast when I clearly told her I didn't want to. My mom walked in one day, and she got in trouble, and from that point on it stopped. My sister and I never got along. We always argued. My sister used to tell me that she can get someone to kill me if she wanted to. She used to run to my mom and tell her lies to get me in trouble. My mom would then come to me screaming at me. I would try to tell her my sister is lying, but she would yell that she doesn't want to hear it. When the situation with my dad would occur, she at times would feel guilty and start showing my mom a lot of love, and then confess. She always confessed in a way that made her innocent or the victim, and then my dad would get all of the heat. Whenever we caught my sister trying to seduce my dad, she would get this defensive/IDC attitude. Whenever we got in trouble for saying anything, my sister never tried to stop it. Many times I caught my sister trying to make my dad jealous by trying to get the attention of guys. Any female friends I brought around in my teen adult years and they had boyfriends, my sister would try to sleep with them, and sometimes she succeeded, causing more strife. My sister has slept with my dad's friends. She has even slept with her own biological father. As I said, it's a SHT show, and if you want the details on that, I'll do a separate post. My sister has always attracted the wrong attention. We had a guy come to our house and tell my parents how the guys down the street are planning to pee her, etc. She also caused PPL to slash our tires when I was in college literally every day. She had caused our house to get shot up, and PPL even followed us around. My sister has always been trouble. My oldest brother, the one who had his hand burned and penis pinched flat as a baby, was troubled. He hung out with the wrong crowd, and him and my dad did not get along. He tried to run away to New York once when he was in high school. A family member bought him a plane ticket, and he was planning to go to the airport after school. The teacher noticed the ticket and called my parents, and my dad hooped my brother twice for that. They have a better relationship now, but he lives in another state. My dad eventually found God and the abuse stopped. He cried and apologized to all of us for everything he did. He promised to be better, and he honestly did get better, but sleeping with my sister did not stop. As I said, it was off and on. My brother is doing fine. He bought a house and has started his own business while doing security work on the side. He's not married because he's a hoe. My other brother and I were close. When we were home alone, I made sure we ate by making eggs or noodles. When fights would happen, we would sit in the same room and wait for it to be over. A lot of times we were running in the room to try and stop Dad from hitting someone or breaking things. At one point, our sister was out the house, and we all genuinely felt at peace. She was in another state, and our family actually felt normal. There were no fights, and we all spent a lot of time together. We lived next to a church, and my brother and I got involved in a lot of church activities. We made friends and would hang out up to 6 a.m. and then come home. We were good kids and parents trusted us to be out. When we were out, we were at game nights with friends, or we would go to Steak and Shake or even the park. We would have a speaker and play gospel music. We would worship and pray and talk about God a lot with our friends that PPL passing by would stop and stare and approach us to join. Eventually, it turned into a weekly meetup, and there was a lot of PPL showing up. We got older. My brother graduated from college, met his wife in church, and is now married with 2 kids. I graduated high school and majored in dance in college. I never got to finish, but I got to travel and perform and compete. I even did World of Dance and won first place when it was on tour and not on TV. I met my husband at a gas station, and we've been married for 6 years and have 2 kids as well. My son was born last Jan. My sister lived with my parents her entire life and just recently got kicked out for trying to seduce my dad. My nephew, aka brother, we say nephew out of respect for my mom, caught them about to do doggy. He told my mom, and now my sister got kicked out. After a few days sleeping in the street, which is part of the cycle, then she ends up back in my mom's house. I decided to take her in. If you all would be like, WTF, why would you do that? I literally think my sister is scum and perverted. I took her in only so that she doesn't end up at my mom's place again. My mom cried to me multiple times that she feels trapped and can't get away from her. I also did it for my nephew. He's 15 and worried about his mom. I don't want him to go through the stuff me and my brothers went through. He cried and locked himself in the bathroom. He told me when I picked him up that my dad said not to say anything, or he's going to ruin the family. My sister told him he's going crazy and need to go see a specialist because he's seeing things. I was enraged and cursed them out and told them to leave him alone. My dad apologized. My sister cried to my mom, etc. At this point, I'm cordial, but try to stay away from them when I leave the house. My sister has to leave and she's not able to come back until I'm home. My husband is WFH and she's not allowed anywhere near him. My husband supports my decision and would prefer if I cut all contact with them. That's hard to do, but yeah. Everyone is going on like nothing happened. I talked to my brother about it, and he says he's trying not to think about it. I'm starting to feel numb, but I'm more focused on my family I created. I want to add that my sister is work from home as well, and all her equipment is at my parents' house. I told my mom that she had to go to her house to work because she's not working at my place near my husband. She agreed. My sister also cannot enter the neighborhood until a certain time. Security would not let her through the gates. If letting her live with me, she may go after my husband. She has said inappropriate things in front of him about how she feels horny or can't watch a show with X because it gets her going. She also indirectly told us she would have a threesome with me and my husband. Anytime she's around, she tries to make things as.zuel. If I was in the outside reading this, I'll be saying the same things you all are saying. I trust my husband completely. He literally is like a fairy tale. It feels too good to be true, but it's real. He loves me and would also prefer no contact. Anytime my sis is around, he gives her an attitude and keeps his distance. He even fussed her out for being inappropriate. My husband said something Azul directed towards me, and my sister responded to him saying, "What if I orgasm?" He was like, "WTF, I'm not talking to you. I would never ever say anything like that to you that's inappropriate. This is my wife. I'm talking to her." My husband is not some weak-minded man trying to put his wood in anything that is breast. He's loyal and committed.